apparently we have sound now. So the first little while of this lecture wasn't recorded. Okay, so let's add some storefront slash, and gosh, I feel bad now because that was kind of the most important part of the lecture, describing the difference between curtain wall and storefront. What's that? I know. Okay, so let's create some storefront slash curtain wall within a wall, okay? So I'm going to initiate the wall command. I'm going to drop down here to storefront, okay? When I click on storefront, I could draw a wall off to the side like I did before. But in this case, if I want my window slash storefront to be right here, I can click, and it embeds itself into that wall, okay? So I think the number one mistake that beginning students create is that when they learn about curtain wall slash storefront, they think, oh, it's a wall, right? Which it is. I need to draw my exterior wall, stop, leave a gap, right? And then draw the rest of it, which is not the way you want to go about it, because this right here, this storefront, or the storefront system is very tall. It goes from level 1 up to 20 feet. But if I connected it to level 2, right, it embeds itself just where it needs to be, and it leaves the wall above it, right? So if I had actually stopped my wall, created the storefront, started again, what would happen is there would be this gigantic piece of wall that would be missing, okay? So what this system of storefront and curtain wall allow you to do, it allows you to embed one wall system within another to create the glazing, okay? And it embeds and it cleans itself up nicely and allows the rest of the wall to kind of live around it, okay? Let me do that with the curtain wall system. Let's see, and I'm going to use my wall by architectural, curtain wall, click, click. Oh, what did I, oh, hold on. Ooh, that did not embed itself. Let me choose a different wall. Let's go to level 1. Let's go to our east elevation over here. Okay. Did he get it fixed over there? Yeah. Was something just unplugged? Okay, so wall, oops, wall, curtain wall, here we go. I can also pick, I'm going to make this go from level 1 up to level 2. Oh, we're getting some error. Oh, it's probably because it's a stacked wall, I bet, with the curtain wall. Ooh, hold on a second. Structural. I think they've split their curtain walls into 2 different types now. Let's do this. Hold on a second. Room bounding, offset, justification, structural. Interesting. We've had a couple of big changes here, I think. Oh, when Revit finds a room boundary. Let me create just a simple wall. Level 1. Okay. There we go, curtain wall. allow, height. That's what I was looking for. Okay, offset, hopefully this works. Ooh, no, I'm having some troubles. We're gonna have to come back to storefront, it looks like. I know. So there is an automatic embed feature usually involved in curtain front and storefront. It looks like they might have changed it a little bit so that they are a little different now, because there was no difference between these two, right? So I guess technically, well, no, I'm not going to say that just yet. Let me look at it a little bit more. But it's almost looking like now storefront is acting more like it should, right? So it's a system where it hangs off of the structure instead of cutting out openings within it, right? Because I'm getting an embed error. It's saying, hey, you have two wall systems that are overlapping one another. So maybe they've changed it. There's been a couple big changes in 2018. So that this system actually does function more so on the outside of a wall system than on the inside, which makes sense, I guess, right? So in the case of now we have the question, do we use curtain wall or do we use storefront? Well, if your system is going to sit inside, we're going to use storefront, right? If it's going to sit inside a structural opening, it's going to be storefront. And if it's going to sit on the outside of a system, it's going to be curtain wall, right? So there's a good clear definition now, which there wasn't before, right? These two functioned exactly the same in previous versions. So we'll take that as good, right? As a good change, okay? All right, so we're going to make that new definition. We're going to use storefront when we have a structural opening that we need a self-supporting window, and when we want to generate a curtain wall, which is hung from structure, we're going to use the curtain wall tool. With that said, I still think that probably 99% of the time, you're going to end up using storefront, okay? Yeah, I think you're just going to end up using storefront for functionality. All right, let's talk about some of the different pieces of our curtain wall and how they function, okay? So before we get into that, I want to show you that the curtain wall system and the storefront system, they are walls, and we can create duplicates of them, okay, and change the wall type just like you can any other wall in Revit, right? So if I have this storefront system here and I click on it, let me grab the whole system. I see it says curtain wall storefront, and I can hit edit type, and there's a lot of different settings in here, right? We have what kind of panel, glazing panel is in there. We have the layout of our mullion system, the vertical grid, right? And the spacing right now is 5 feet, which means that there is never going to be more than 5 feet between these vertical mullions, right? So they will generate automatically at every 5 feet increment, okay? The horizontal grid is a fixed distance of 8 feet. So it doesn't ever vary from 8 feet, right? So it's going to be 8 feet apart, the vertical system, okay? We have our mullion type here. So this is a rectangular mullion. So if I look here, the mullion is the frame, and you can see it's rectangular, and it's 2.5 inches by 5 inches. So we see the 2.5 inches here, the 5 inches in the thickness, okay? So I can hit duplicate, I can change this to storefront, 5 by 5, hit OK. And if I wanted to 5 by 5, I was maybe thinking I could change the mullion system, right? Or maybe it's 1 by 1. I could change this to 1 inch square. Let's change all of these. Oh, see, there's a 5 by 5 corner right there. We'll just do 1 square to make these consistent. But I can hit OK. And you see that little mullion changes, right? So within a normal wall type, we have layers of structure. Like we have the stud, and we have the gypsum board, and we have the brick, and all those good things. And they all come together to create the wall type, right? In our storefront system, we have a panel, and we have a mullion that we can change out, okay? So what I just did there was I changed the mullion system. Those are kind of our two structural components within our storefront system, okay? And our curtain wall system, even though now it's kind of functioning like it should, it still has those same components. So I still have the vertical mullion, the horizontal mullion, the grid layout, the vertical grid layout, and I have a panel, okay, a curtain panel. Okay, so let me just kind of define the different pieces of our curtain walls and storefront systems. We have kind of, I guess, really 3 different elements, okay, within our system. We have, and let me just say this, one of, I think, kind of the trickiest things about using a storefront or a curtain wall system is selecting it, because there are like 5 or 6 different selections on a storefront system, okay? So we have, let me go into a north view here and look at this kind of straight on. We have our mullions, okay? And our mullion, do you notice if I kind of hover over my mullion, I can get that selection and it kind of bubbles curtain wall mullion. If I hover very close to the edge, let's see if I can get it to highlight. Do you see how, whereas I'm grabbing the mullion there, if I hover kind of, ooh, let's see if I can grab it. Oh, there it is. Did you guys see it? I get an outline. You see how I kind of have an outline? So there's the mullion, right, where I can click on the mullion, and then there is kind of this whole outline that is dashed, and if I click on that, it picks the entire storefront system, right? So let me window tile these. So here, right, here's my mullion, and if I click, it picks the mullion. And if I hover in there and you see how that whole outline, that whole border outlines, if I click there, you see it highlights the entire storefront system itself, okay? So we have the mullion, which is the frame, okay? We have vertical mullions, we have horizontal mullions. They're all, well, I'm gonna say this generally because it does change. These, in this case, are separate pieces. So if I click here, click, it selects one piece. If I wanna select a second piece, I have to hold the Control key and click. I have the mullion, horizontal, vertical. In this case, right, I've got a 1x1 mullion, and there's one piece of it. If I want to grab the second piece, I can Control. Oop, I got the rest of the system. Oh. Click. Okay, so I held Control and I grabbed the second mullion. So all of these mullions in general are separate pieces, okay? So I have the mullion, I have the panel. I'm gonna tab, and you notice my mouse is somewhat near the boundary. I'm kind of hovering over a mullion and it's highlighting it a little. If I tab, look, I got the whole outline, tab again. Do you see how it highlighted the panel? I know this is a little hard to see. Once you start getting hang of this, you'll kind of get a feeling for what you're grabbing. But if I tab, oh, come on. Tab, click, I've grabbed the panel. You see how the panel's highlighted there? I'm gonna delete that one back there. In fact, I'm gonna delete this whole thing back there. Okay, so tab. Finally, there's the panel, click, and I've highlighted the panel, okay? So we have the mullions, we have the panel, we have the entire system itself where I can, if I hover very near the top edge or very near the side edge, I can tab, click, and I grab the whole system. Or that didn't grab the whole system, that grabbed the whole mullion. There's the whole system. Okay. One other thing we have here that is not visible is the grid system. So the storefront or curtain wall grid system, okay? If I hover over a mullion, there's an invisible grid system behind here that you then assign a mullion to, essentially, right? So we're kind of, the way that Revit has generated these is they have assigned this invisible grid system on the face of that window, right? And then they have placed mullions on it at those distances, okay? If I tab, I might have to go into a floor plan to grab this one. Tab, let me go into a floor plan to grab it. Okay. And there we go. I'm gonna get my regular mullion back so it's easier to pick. Okay, So there's my full system, click, right? I grab the full system. Here's my panel, tab, click, there's my panel, okay? I'm gonna tab, tab, tab. Let me see if I can. Oh, do you see that right there? Click, that is my curtain grid, right? And did you notice that when I hovered over it, it says curtain wall grid, right? Again, kind of confusing. Looks like they've changed the storefront and the curtain wall so that they're a little different now. But even though this is a storefront system, I still get a curtain grid established on it, right? To kind of generate or to show or to guide where the mullions are going to be placed, okay? So I have that curtain grid, right? And you can't see it very well in elevation view over here, but you can grab it in floor plan view. So we have our mullion system, we have the panel, we have the entire curtain wall system itself, and then we have these curtain grids that define and kind of host the mullions to the glass, right? Super confusing, okay? I love the storefront and curtain wall system tools in Revit. I think they're really clean looking. I think the panels are really easy to manipulate. You can schedule them very easily. They're very nice to work with. You can give it a height and a width, and it's very custom, right? But in selection and changing the mullion system, they're kind of my nemesis. They're my arc of AutoCAD, right? Because it's just difficult. There's so many selections within these wall systems, these storefront and curtain wall systems, that it makes them just really hard to work with, right? You know, I can grab this curtain wall system, but if I accidentally click and think, oh, I selected the curtain wall system, well, no, you selected the mullion, right? Oh, well, I need to grab the whole system to delete it or make it bigger. Okay, well, there I grabbed it, right? But if I click here and accidentally grab that, nope, you grabbed the panel, you haven't gotten the whole system, right? If I click here, oh, there's another mullion. If I grab this, oh, it's the curtain grid, right? And then finally, oh, I'm lucky and I get the entire system selection, okay? So one thing you're gonna have to be very aware of with these big glazing wall systems is the selection. And just be aware there's a lot of pieces and that it takes some skill to select them. And even when you do select them, do you notice that when I click on that mullion, what about it? It's pinned, right? So in order for me to move it or alter it, I have to unpin it, okay? But the most awesome part about this is that I've only grabbed that bottom piece, right? When you're in plan view, you assume that if I select something, it selects that entire piece. It's not the case, right? So I have to be kind of very aware that when I'm selecting things with a storefront system, I may only be selecting a piece of it that I then change, right? So in this case, if I wanted to change the mullion, number one, I'd have to select it. Number two, I'd have to unpin it. Number three, I'd have to hit edit type here, or sorry, I have the mullion selected, so I'm going to change the mullion itself. I would then go and change the mullion, but I only changed that bottom portion, right? So if I wanted to get the next portion, tab, click, unpin, change it, right? No, because it's pinned. Yeah. I mean, you ideally could, right? But it's pinned. Yeah, you can. Yes. The other thing you can do to kind of help this, you can click on it, you can right click, you can choose select all instances visible in view. Okay, well, I get all of these, but then I also get all of those, and they're all pinned. Isn't it magic? Oh, and I can start unpinning, or I guess I could come up here and click unpin. Okay, that worked. That seemed to work. And then I could kind of change them all, but normally I'm not changing everything, right? I'm changing kind of specific instances of things. So I can do that, but then it doesn't always, and of course it left one little guy out here. So I have to tab, click, and change that one. My point is, storefront's not easy, but I feel like it's kind of worth the effort because it does look so clean. The tool does work really well, right? It has a lot of customization available to it, which is really nice, okay? All right, so storefront is a wall, right? In general, I would say 99% of the time you can just use the storefront tool and you'll be great. Storefront has a curtain grid associated with it, mullion, panel, and then you have the entire system, okay? I'm going to go back over to a plan view here. If I want to alter a storefront system and I want to alter it in its entirety, I have to grab that dashed kind of, I guess, grip system. This we'll call it a grip system. If I just hover over one item, that's not it. So select the entire thing, I have to click on that dashed line. When I click on that dashed line, you'll notice at the ends I have grips. Okay. You'll also notice that over here in the properties dialog box, I have the definitions available here. So if I have a base constraint I want to change, let's just go into a 3D view again here. Right, so if I want to change how tall this is, I can change the base constraint to, you know, level, we'll leave it at level 1, we'll change the top constraint to level 2, right, and it changes it. So I can grab it and I can change the bottom and top constraints. I can grab this, click, and I can drag this grip out. Click, hold, and drag it out. Okay. You'll also notice that I get those temporary dimensions popping up here on the screen. That says, you know, it's kind of hard to read, 6 foot 6.5. If I click on that, click, I could type in 10 foot, enter. Of course, I get a little error there, but I can make it, you know, wider. Okay. If I want to alter the spacing of my mullions, I do that by type. I can click on it. I can hit edit, and I can change, you know, the vertical. Right now it's maximum at 5, but what if I wanted it maximum at 2 foot? Okay, and it regenerates those mullions. Although it didn't generate them with the 1-inch mullion system following what I had changed, it created the new mullions with the generic default mullion system, right?
It did it weird too. The outsides.
What?
1 inch and then the insides 2 inch.
Oh, well, I had changed those. Remember that, though? Yeah, so, I mean, it is weird. It's just weird. You're right. But so it defaulted back to those 2.5 by 5s instead of the ones I changed it to, which were 1s, right? It's not that smart. And not only did it change, you know, it created those default mullions, but it didn't unlock them like I had really kind of wanted on here. All of those new ones are locked. So if you want to change them all, right, you can change it by wall type. So I could go in and change the wall type. But if I don't want to change the wall type because I have 400 other instances of this storefront system somewhere else, and I just want this one to look that way with the 1-inch mullion, I'd have to individually select each of these, right, and change them. Okay, now I showed you that we have that curtain grid. See how it even looks weird in plan view, right? I showed you that we have that curtain grid system right here, right? Not only do we have it kind of in this, you know, plan view, which I guess this is technically a vertical system right here, they're all over the place. So those curtain grids define these vertically, and they define these horizontally, okay? So if I tab enough in here, oh, there it is. Do you see I was able to grab it? Click. Okay. Doesn't make it easier. Again, you'll get an eye for this, so you'll start knowing where you are and what you're grabbing, but it takes a lot of practice and just kind of making enough mistakes that you figure out where you should be selecting and where you're not selecting. Okay. So we were able to, you know how to draw these because you know how to draw walls. That's no big secret, right? It is a top constraint, a bottom constraint. We can change the mullion system, right? One thing we can also do is change the panel, right? So if I tab, 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 click, there's my panel. If I unpin it, okay, you'll notice that my drop down brightens up, right? So right now I have two different panel types. I have a glazed panel, so that means there's glass in it and I can see through it, or I have a solid panel. Click. When I click on a solid panel, it puts a solid piece in there, okay, that you can't see through, right, essentially. I guess you could kind of term this something like spandrel glass, right, where it's glass but you can't really see through it, so this maybe could be considered spandrel. What is kind of nice about this is that this is also the system for placing doors in a storefront system, okay? So the panel defines what goes in that opening, right? So if it's glass, it's defined as a glass panel. But if it's a storefront door, we can change this to a storefront door. We have to load one of them because we don't have one in here by default. I'm going to go to Insert, Load Family. Now I can't, let's see. Empty panel, glazed, solid. Okay. Oh, where is it? Is it under doors? Curtain wall, right? So, and don't be tricked by the fact it's called a curtain wall door. It will work on a storefront system as well, right? Again, there's just a really fine line between curtain wall and storefront in Revit. Still, obviously, even though they've changed the curtain wall, it looks like slightly. So we've got double glass. Oh, we've got a storefront, which has the frame around it. The curtain wall doesn't. We've got a single door. We have a double door, right? Let's see what else we have here for glass. Nope, that's not what we want. Let's just grab those three. Okay, so I just loaded those three door types that are associated with curtain wall and storefront. And now when I grab my panel, tab, oh. Do you hear when I'm in the center of the panel and I tab, right, I get a little error. I have to move to the edge of the panel to be able to select it. Tab, click, unpin it, of course. If it's pinned, you're not going to be able to use it, to modify it, I guess. And when I select that panel, all of the different options for my panel pop up, okay? So glazed panel, solid panel, empty panel. There's a good one, empty. There's nothing there, it's a void, okay? And let's add a door in there. I can choose my, let's do a single. There we go. There's my door. Now, this is tricky. In 3D view, it doesn't look any different, right? But in my floor plan view, look, I've got a nice, beautiful little glass door popping up there, okay? This door functions like any other door. I can change the swing of it, and I can also tag it. Right. There we go. Okay. If I wanted to, I could tab, 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 tab. Oop, come on. Come on. There we go. I grabbed the panel and I could change it to a double door if I wanted. Oop, little tiny double door. Okay. One nice thing about this system is it's kind of a whole piece. So if I grab this and I stretch it out, right, the whole system updates. And if this had gotten bigger or smaller, those doors would have adjusted bigger or smaller to accommodate that section of that piece of the wall system. Okay. Look how goofy it's starting to look though, right?
So if you just delete that mullion, then will it go into that other space?
Yeah, yes. But that's a good question, or not a statement, because now what's driving the placement of these mullions is actually the curtain wall grid behind it. Okay, so I guess I should make sure that's clarified. So this mullion right here is sort of dividing this space between this space, right? And if I want to delete it, I can come in here and tab, click, and hit delete, and the mullion goes away. But you still see the little grid system behind there, right? I can grab that, unpin it. If I hit delete, nothing happens. I have to unpin it, and then I can hit delete. Oh wait, it didn't go away. Sometimes it goes away. This one doesn't want to. So I have to use another tool to get rid of these. We have the add or remove curtain grid segments here, which sometimes works. There we go. I got rid of that top piece. I'm getting rid of that bottom piece now, and then that door expanded. When I did that, you probably didn't even see it happening, right? You were like, what just happened there, right? It's just kind of tricky, honestly. Sometimes you can click on it and delete it using the delete key, and it works great. Sometimes you have to use the remove segments portion to get rid of the mullion system there. But when I did that, automatically that door expanded into that entire space, I guess I should say. Tab, tab. There's my door. Okay, I can also, if I don't want a door here, right? And I don't want an empty panel. I don't want glazing. I don't want it solid, like I can't see through it and be a generic panel. I can also change this to a door, like a wall type, like an interior wall type, right? So now that looks like it has gypsum board on it, like, you know, somebody framed something in there temporary or whatever because it was broken or, you know, for whatever reason. So while these are kind of tricky sometimes and they're a little bit hard to manipulate, the system works really, really well. Like, it's very customization. You can customize it, you know, very easily. It just works really well. So when I was at AJC, we did the Tracy Aviary guest service and education building, right? And it has, have you guys seen that? It's a CMU building, but it has like this steel panel system all the way around it, right? And we did it in Revit, and that was years ago. That was seven years ago maybe that we did that. And so AJC had just kind of switched over to using Revit. It was one of our kind of first comprehensive projects using Revit. And we couldn't figure out a really great way to make those panels work in Revit. We were like, we tried walls, we tried families, we tried just a bunch of different things to get the system to work. And what ended up working the best was to create a storefront system on the outside of the building, and then to create a special panel that fit into that storefront system that was kind of bumped out a little bit, right? So we were able to create this family system that hosted to the storefront system in Revit, and it worked great, right? And so the system, I guess my point is the system's just really easy to customize, and, you know, it's not easy to work with, but it's easy to customize, okay? All right, so let me just, you know, kind of, there's our definition. I'm just going to let you know that when you first start working with these, it's going to be super frustrating. We'll put these in the wireless switch, and I'll kind of help you navigate that as we add them. But what I want to do now is I just want to add a few of these systems to, maybe we'll just create a new file. I'll create a new file. And it's blank. And I'm going to insert immediately my doors, my storefront doors, because this is a new file. Doors, curtain. Okay. And I'm just going to draw some generic walls here. Okay, so I'm going to go to level 1, which here I am. And I'm going to go to walls. And we will make these go from level 1 to level 2. You like that shape? There we go. Okay, so we have some walls. They're not really very exciting. And in fact, I want them to go all the way past level 2, so we'll make them go up 10 feet above level 2. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. That's great. All right, so, you know, we can add doors and windows like we normally do. I'll just add a couple doors so you can kind of see where they're at, right? There's one there, there's one there, there's one there. Great, we can see those all popping in. And then we'll add a couple regular windows. Okay, there's one there, we have one right there, and we have one right there. Great, we all know how to do that. Now let's add some storefront in here, okay? And I think for our purposes right now, we're gonna just use storefront. Like for our wireless switch and for, you know, doing this, we're just gonna use storefront. We don't have a project where we have, you know, real curtain wall that we're gonna be using. So I'm gonna come over here to wall, and again, I just wanna reiterate that when I generated these, when I drew my floor plan, even though I knew I was gonna have storefront going in here, I created all my walls. They're all cohesive. They're all the right height, right? They're continuous, so that, and I did that because I want to embed my storefront into these, and they will create the opening, right? I don't want to have little pieces of wall that are not continuous to, you know, create an opening for my storefront. I go to wall, architectural, and I go all the way down here. We'll just choose storefront. Great. Okay, I define the top constraint and the bottom constraint, the base and the top constraint. So this will be level 1. We'll have it go up to level 2. Great. And I come in here and I just kind of draw. I'm going to draw from the center point of the wall, click, click, and I draw my wall system. Okay, now I need to alter it, right? So I grab the system, 13 foot 10. Well, I want it to be 15 foot. Enter. And what it did is it took from this middle point equally, and it made it bigger equally on both sides. Okay. All right, so I have my storefront system. Looks great. If I want to view an elevation, click, click. There it is. Looks good. I'm going to shade this view, SD. Okay. So I've got all 3 of these views now, and I can manipulate my system using all 3 views, right? Okay. If I want to alter this system, right, I can select it, and if I want to make the dimension larger, or I want to pull one end or the other end, I have to select the system wholly. So I have to grab that middle grip, click. I can grab this blue grip on the end, click, hold, drag it out. Okay, great. If I want to change a mullion, I can grab it here, click. You notice it highlights it there, unpin it, change it. Okay, that's how I want it to look. Great. If I want to take the system and change every mullion, I can change it by type, right? That was kind of just one instance of mullion. So if I grab the wall system, I can hit edit type, and I can change all of these mullions. Let's make them circular. Hopefully we have the circular one here. There it is. Horizontal and vertical. Oop. And I have my changes here. Oop, oh, because did I leave one? Let's see. No. Huh. So that one is being overridden by my change. So I'm going to, it's like a, if you were to compare it to AutoCAD, probably like not a bi-layer change, right? I'm doing a bi-layer change when I change the wall type, and that was kind of an instance-based change that I created with that mullion. So we have our round mullions, right? I can grab my mullions in plan view, click, but it only grabs one piece, right? I can grab my mullions in elevation view. That's my curtain grid, right? And it calls it out, tab, 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 oop, click, tab, 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 control, click. One's pinned, one isn't. I can unpin it and I can make a change if I wanted. If I want to delete these, right? Tab, tab, oop. You guys figuring out what a pain in the neck this can be? Tab, click, delete. There goes my mullion. My mullion went away, but my curtain grid didn't. Tab, 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 tab. Oh, where is it? Click, delete. If I want to get rid of this curtain grid, which when I hover over it, there it is, and I can see it there, and I can see it here. Click, unpin. I always try and first delete it with my delete key, because sometimes it does work. Didn't work that time. So if that doesn't work, add or remove segments, click, and then you hover over the segment you want to get rid of, click, click, and they go away. Okay. If I want to add a curtain grid back in, right? So for example, we have a custom type pattern that I want to add to my curtain system. Under the architecture tab, I have my curtain grid system tool here. Click. All segments, one segment. So if all segments means through the whole thing vertically or through the whole thing horizontally, right? I can click and it places one segment. Click, it places one segment. Okay. So I can add curtain grids and mullions in there. it's going to place mullions, right? We see the mullions being placed. And because this curtain or this storefront system has that round mullion specified, it placed the round mullions there. Okay, looks kind of the way I want it to. Okay, looks kind of odd here. My mullions don't look like they're showing up. All right, if I want to remove one of those curtain grids that I had just created, right, I would select the curtain grid, add or remove segments, and that doesn't show up all the time. Click, 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 and there we go. And it says, hey, you're going to get rid of it. If you get rid of that segment, delete it. I can grab the entire system in elevation. I can drag it out. I can redefine the top. I'm going to get rid of this piece of this mullion system right here, and I'm going to add a door. Unpin, delete. Unpin, delete. Oop, there's even a little tiny piece there. Unpin, delete. Remove segments, click, and it gets rid of it. So I have this whole system we've designed. It looks the way I want it to, right? Now I want to add a door here. I can change and make a door by adding a panel, a different panel. Tab, tab, click. There's my system panel. It's pinned. Everything in storefront, or in these systems, storefront or curtain wall, they're always pinned. So I have to unpin it and change it to a double door if I wanted. Okay. One tricky little thing, I can see the door in plan view. I can see the door in elevation view. Oh, I guess I can see it here. Every now and again it doesn't pop up in 3D view, so just realize that, right? If you know you placed a door but you can't see it, just verify it in plan or elevation. Any question about curtain wall storefront systems yet?
Now that mullion that's right above the door, if you wanted to line up with that
yes.
of the door, just use a line.
Yeah. So AL, well, yes. You have to, yeah, that's exactly it. It's probably going to be pinned, right? We've been messing around with these, so it doesn't look like it is. But yeah, you just want to make sure that it is unpinned. Sorry, I'm trying to grab it there. Unpin it, right? AL, click. I'm going to grab its curtain grid in the middle there. Oop, click. Ooh, it freaked out. Well, we'll put it back. Oh my gosh, it's really freaking out. We'll move it. MV. Ooh, it's really oh, I know why. I know why. Because, okay, so here's why that's happening. Because, do you see how that curtain grid goes all the way down? I think we're essentially picking up on two grids there. So I have to remove that bottom grid. Ooh, come on. It really does not like that. You hate storefront, is that what you just said? I know, right? This tool is horrible. Let me do this. So here, okay, let's see. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm making it sound a lot more terrible than it is, because it is actually, I know, it is actually a pretty good system, to be honest. Here's what I'm gonna do. You just have to find workarounds. Yeah, so I got rid of it. Ooh, which we've got some weirdness happening here.
That's going to be my question. Can you have an operable window in the storefront?
Yeah. So you're gonna, yes, hold on, let me come back to that. Hold on, let me get this. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do one segment of curtain wall, and I'm gonna try and make it so it's equal. I'm gonna dimension this. Oh, you can dimension, right? We didn't quite get to that, but. Oh, we have some problems. That might be the problem. Some of the panels in the curtain wall system are slightly malformed. Why is it slightly malformed, though? Good going, Corey. Simple question turns into...
Roll and start over.
I wonder if it's maybe the actual...
Circle.
Yeah, it might be this. Let's do the regular mullion again. It might not be able to the panel might not be able to meet that quite right. It's not easy. Let's see, 2.5 by 5, 2.5 by 5. Oh, we got a slightly weird thing happening there. Okay, let's see if we can get it to work. So we've added a curtain system, right? I've got my mullion here. I can click and add a mullion there. We just got some weirdness happening here. Anyway. It's not usually this difficult, people. I promise. I promise. As it dings as I try and select the door. Let's see. The most painful thing on this is unpinning it every single time you want to make, well, it's freaking out. Thanks a lot, Corey, for asking that. Generally, it should work, right? I think, again, the hardest thing is sort of being able to select things correctly. We've got some weirdness happening here. I'll say it quite frequently when I'm working with storefronts. I will find myself having to delete an entire storefront system and kind of redraw it fresh, right? Because you do get some weirdness going on. I don't know how else they would do it though. I mean, I guess they have the curtain grid system and then you can kind of assign mullions to it. But if you got rid of the curtain system, then you couldn't kind of show where butt glazing happens in windows, and so you have to have that, but you have to have some way to attach a mullion to it. So in my mind, the system makes sense and what it represents and how it functions, but there's kind of a learning curve to getting it right. Hopefully when we work through our wireless switch, it will all work very nicely for us on the screen, right? But if it doesn't, I guess it's kind of real life. You run into issues and you have to solve them and make it work. And anyway. So what I'll try and do, again, I'll be here on Wednesday if you want to come and work. I'm not going to hold class just because I know people are getting ready for Thanksgiving and traveling and everything. But I will be here to answer questions. On Monday, we'll start modeling our final project in class. We can do it all together. If you want to follow along, you can just work on your final in class, essentially. But I will be modeling it in class, and hopefully Monday we can get the entire building shell done, like the walls, right? Main and upper, and we'll get the doors and windows and start the storefront, getting the storefront in, so you can kind of see how that works. Okay. All right. Any questions on this so far? Okay. Don't worry, we'll go over it again when we model the wireless switch, so you'll get another good dose of it. Yep.
Question about making one.